It's been a year and a half since we started building run 3. And now it's finally time to turn the hull around. And we will start by pulling her out of the barn.
So it's time to start lifting the hull off the ground. So I'm preparing these wooden blocks that we'll use as support under the wooden frames here. The plan is to just lift the hull a few centimeters and put these under. Let it rest on those so that the rest of the support legs that it's standing on now will be hanging a few centimeters off the ground. So we can cut those off. And then we'll lift the whole hull again and remove this and slowly lower it down onto those wheels that I mounted the other day. So I need to find a good place where I can put this sling. This is the sling that we'll use to connect the chain hoist to, that we'll use to pull the boat out of here. So I need to get it around the strong back up here in the front. And this looks to be a good place. We'll see. So my plan is to lift it up here in the front first with the 3 jacks, 1 in the front and 2 in the sides down here. It's lifted up here in the front, all the way up in the front. It's maybe 2 centimeters, a bit more than that. Here it's maybe 15-16 millimeters, but it goes all the way back like a wedge, this gap we have along the floor. But I will lower everything down now on these wooden blocks, and then we'll try to do the same in the stern of the boat, lift it up. Because the problem is that if I lift too high in the front, I put quite a lot of pressure on the legs at the stern, and I don't want the boat to fall back like that. Even if I had put some wedges under the frame in the stern, I don't want to take that risk. So, and if we need to lift it more, I think we'll do it like this. So the angle on the hull won't be that high at any point. We could of course put jacks all along the whole boat, but I think that's a bit risky. The surface area of these jacks aren't that big, so I trust wooden blocks more. And I'm alone and I don't want to be climbing inside of the boat when it's only standing on these jacks. Okay. So now the whole boat, the whole hull, everything is resting on only 4 points. And so far I have to say that the hull seems to be very, very stiff. Even when I moved those jacks in the stern, you can immediately see that on the legs up here. Even if you moved it a millimeter, you see that the pivot point was moving up here. Of course, the whole strong back thing, does make it a little bit flexible, since I don't think that the actual strong back is as stiff as the hull. But there is a connection, so I'm really pleased, and it seems to be sitting very secure. The one really good thing with the strong back is that it spreads the loads in a really good way into the hull. Because as you can see, we have this beam here, the actual strong back, and right now all the load is going into these. The support is down here, but the load is spread out from that beam to all of these stands. Of course, there will be more pressure on this particular one because there is some flex in the strong back, but I think it's a really good way to spread the loads when you're keeping all these temporary frames in here. And even if they're not screwed into the hull now, as you can see, they're locked in position, so they can't move fore and aft. And since the shape of the hull is shifting, there's no way for them to move. And the last one over here is still screwed into the hull. This looks pretty crazy, I have to say. I still have one hydraulic jack up front there, but I released it before and it didn't move. There's quite a lot of weight hanging out here. So I guess it's good with those extra wheels that we have up here. Alright, I have cut down all the threaded rods, so it's only these wooden stands left now, the perimeter of the hull. And once those are cut away, we can lift the hull again and slowly settle it down on the wheels. Yeah, I have to say it's a bit nerve-wracking when you're doing something like this, when you're shifting the load to another support and just removing all of the legs that this whole hull was built on. So, time to lower it down again, slowly. We'll leave a few blocks in there, so we take it in steps. A little bit more on the other side and then we're done. Alright, we're down on both sides back here. Now it's time to lift the bow up and do the same thing. The hull is down on the ground again and now resting only on the wheels. And everything went smooth, exactly as I have planned it. no mishaps, and yeah, nothing broke. So I'm really looking forward to the next phase now, moving the boat out of here. We just need to get those tracks in place first. It will be so cool to see it outside, how big it really is, because it will be a totally different perspective. So maybe we can make that happen, start moving the hull beginning of next week. It's Friday today, so plan to have some weekend off now, some family time.
Johan started the new week by making the tracks that will be lying on the ground. Then he climbed up the tree.
So it's a pretty large beech tree, and it seems very healthy. And I don't know how high up I am now, but yeah, 6 meters. So we're placing the sling for the counterweight a bit higher than the one we're using for actually turning the hull, to give it a bit better angle. The angle of pull will be pretty shallow in the beginning, so it's good to have some help with the turn of those farm jacks, because the resistance of turning the hull will be the highest in the beginning. Once it's lifted off the ground, it will get easier and easier the higher it gets, and eventually it will it will want to fall over, so then we need to break that fall, and that's why we're going to have an extra sling for that, with another lever chain hoist connected to the opposite side to break the fall of the hull.
We needed to take down a dead branch that was in the way.
I decided to move the lifting point a little bit higher up to give it a better angle. So I'm down here in our little forest, just trying to find a tree that is in a direct line to the, in line with the hull. But unfortunately I didn't find one, so that's why I put up this strap between these two trees, so we can adjust the angle, attach this sling to the strap, and lead that up to the pad, and this way we can adjust the angle a little bit. And we will connect the lever chain hoist to this one, which we'll use to slowly pull the boat out of the barn.
Johan cut off a part of the doors so that we could open them up fully. We will add a new piece of wood in the bottom later.
Today is a really big day. The plan is to move the hull outside. I've made some changes to the wheel setup. Instead of having 8 wheels spread out under the hull, I've decided to mount them in tandem like this. So we'll have 2 wheels pretty closely spaced, sharing the load, and the same on the other side up here in the front. And the same setup in the stern. Because the hull is very stiff, and there will be areas where one wheel pair will be hanging in the air. So this way, when we have them in tandem, we will always have 6 wheels in the ground, sharing the load. When we had 8 wheels spread out, we could potentially put all the weight on 3 wheels, and even if that would probably be okay, I think this is a safer setup. A good thing is that the hull is not tied in to the strongback. It's actually floating now on top of the temporary frames and the strongback, since we have removed all the screws. So the only thing holding the hull down on the temporary frames are these straps, and that's a good thing now when we can see some movement in the strongback driving over the surface. And then when it's time to flip the hull over, we'll put more straps and tying everything tighter into the temporary frames, tightening everything more together. It's moving slowly. Yeah, so as you can see, the hull has now moved maybe 70 centimeters from the wall. So I'm just putting in a strap around the wall here so I can have a second chain hoist connected to the strongback. So we have like a holdback or some sort of brake. Feels a bit safer that way.
Okay, let's see. Wow! We haven't been here in like a year. We haven't been able to walk here. This is very, very exciting. And a little nervous. Okay, I will be here. Yeah. This will be my position and you will be outside. But we won't be able to see each other.
No, maybe we should
take the phones and talk to each other.
That. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go. The floor was tilting a little bit back here and there's a small middle up right here and the forward wheels here in the back. What?
Det var lite näfsbacke.
Ja.
Jag ställde ut en sån kloss under hjulet. Och det var där en bromsböld fick ut en jävla fart.
Ja, nu är det sträck på den. Okay, so now we're past this little downhill. The floor is not even at all, so it will be a little bit like this. But now we have tension on the sling.
We're a bit too close to that side of the opening. Här är mer plats. Jag tror vi ska röra fören litet.
Vrida hjulet då?
Ja, vi ska frikoppla dem så drar båten lite i sidled.
Inte vad jag kan se. Woo! Men de flyttas ju inte. Jo, det är där, vrider sig. Men inte det andra där. Johan thought he had loosened that side of the wheels, but turned out that they were loose and now he made it tight so they couldn't move. So now we know that, and we have to check the rest of the wheels that they are in the correct mode. Ja, jättefint.
So it looks like we're clearing the wall now of the opening.
And it still looks good on the other side?
Yeah, it does. I don't know. I mean, I measured all of this with laser, but for some reason it didn't line up perfectly once we started rolling. Maybe the boat rolled in a slightly different direction.
Filming for Patreon, where I post some videos now as we're doing this today. We have to pull it more to that side.
Just a little bit more, but I have to cut that from the other side. Not a lot of wiggle room here. We're about halfway now, but Malin had to go and pick up Vera, and she has some swimming class that she needs to go to today, and we don't want to miss that. So I will continue on my own. I don't think I will manage to get the rest of the boat out before they're back, but I will continue, and we'll see how far I will get. Yeah, it is pretty tight. Now the problem is on this side. Hopefully we can clear the next frame there. But overall, I'm really pleased on the progress today. You know, when you're doing something like this, there's always small minor things that you haven't thought about. Some things plays out a bit differently than you thought it would, but nothing major, so I think it's okay. So here's the last obstacle. Pretty tight. I had to use the hydraulic jacks back here to lift the stern off the ground so I could change the direction of the wheels just a little bit and then push the stern to that side.
All the frames are outside, and what a feeling seeing the hull out in the open.
Åh, vad det rör sig här uppe. Det gungar som...
Well, here she is. First step in the operation done. Now we'll set everything up for the turns. So check back next week to see us getting round 3 right side up.